Hi, friends. We're getting close to time here. We're going to get going pretty darn close to noon, but we're going to let a few more folks jump on. All right, it is noon. Hello, welcome everyone. Thank you very much for attending our session today. We have a lot to cover, so we're going to jump right into housekeeping while folks get dialed in. My name is Kate Jorgensen. I'm on the integrated marketing team here at Travel Oregon, and I am so excited to introduce you to the team who is responsible for bringing this awesome opportunity for tourism businesses to the forefront today. Before we dive in and before I introduce them though, I'm going to jump into housekeeping. So today's webinar, Driving Online Business with Locl, is the 6th in the Travel Oregon Small Business Marketing Series. We are recording and we have recorded previous sessions, which we'll drop a link in the chat to as part of this series. So for folks who registered and who are attending, you'll get a link to this recording after, so we understand if you've got to bail out. However, we do encourage you to stick around for Q&A at the end if you have questions that you'd like to ask, or if there's a few things that we didn't cover. And to that end, I'd love to call your attention to the Q&A tool down in the bottom. So if you're looking at your Zoom window right now, you'll see there's a few different controls. The Q&A functionality will be there throughout, and I will be in the background moderating. So please do ask questions throughout. Again, we have time at the end, at least 10 minutes, maybe a little bit more for live Q&A. So I might hold on to a few questions till the end that are better for discussion. We also have closed captioning going for folks on Zoom. If you click on that closed captioning control, you'll see there are a few options there for you to, you can futz with the fonts a little bit if you want to make them bigger or smaller, or you can just turn them off altogether if you're finding that they're a little distracting. So the last thing I'd like to cover as it relates to housekeeping is the survey. We'll drop a link in there here in a minute. And again, towards the end of the session, please do give us your feedback. We take it really seriously. We've used it to inform other sessions throughout the small business series, the marketing series. And this is an especially unique situation because we're going to offer this training for businesses and partners on a quarterly basis. And this is the first go. So we want to make sure that we gather up feedback and we can refine the next training to even further meet needs. So please do take some time to share your feedback at the end. And without further ado, I'd love to introduce you to today's panelists. The first up is my colleague, Cecilia Suvagian. She is also on the integrated team at Travel Oregon and has been critical in turning this idea into reality. You might recognize her from the work that she's done spearheading the Oregon Tourism Information System, or OTIS. She's also going to be your go-to person for any questions you have related to this partnership with Locl. And when Cecilia is not up to her ears in OTIS listings and API integrations, she enjoys kayaking, cooking, gardening, and yoga. Next up, I'd like to introduce you to Joel Siedenburg. He is the CEO of Locl and is bringing over 15 years of experience in marketing, software, startups, and entrepreneurship to our discussion today. He is passionate about creating value for businesses, and especially with helping them understand and acquire new customers. In his spare time, you'll find Joel fly fishing the Deschutes and exploring the wilds of Oregon. And finally, I'd like to introduce you to Alexa Darrow. She is the Director of Customer Success at Locl, and she is devoted to helping businesses get the most out of their local accounts. She's going to be your go-to person once you're in Locl and using it. And in her free time before the pandemic, and hopefully again very, very soon, you'll find her noshing her way through Portland, dancing and traveling. And with that, I'd love to hand it over to my colleague, Cecilia, to get us started.
Good lunch hour, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm pretending that I can see all of you, but I know we're still in a webinar world, so soon enough. I am excited to share with you a new opportunity to help Oregon's travel and tourism businesses optimize their Google My Business profiles and give Oregon a competitive advantage as we work to rebuild our tourism industry. And to ensure these tourism businesses are best positioned when we begin really getting out there and marketing again, we've partnered with a wonderful Oregon-based company called Locl to provide free access to a custom suite of listing optimization tools. So this software helps a business to manage updates, creating offers and events. They can engage with customer reviews and monitor their business performances and act on insights. And this can be done all in one place, and even for businesses with more than one location. This opportunity also aims to help us streamline listing management. We're managing listings everywhere. And also, it will add value to our regional and local destination management partners that use our Oregon Tourism Information System, a Travel Oregon's listing database, as it will help power listings on your sites as well. Otis will be able to receive these updates from Locl, and this will help power tourism listings on both Travel Oregon's website and the other integrated partner websites. And I think we have about 12 Otis integrated partners right now. Shout out to you all. Now, just to kind of ground us, you're going to hear us using the word Google a lot, talking about Google. And we're going to be speaking to how a listing appears within Google's ecosystem. And that is through both Google Search and Google Maps. So I just put together a few examples of how businesses can appear between Google Search and Google Maps. And this includes if you're doing a search for something specific, a specific business name, or if you're searching more broadly for a service or a category, best wines in Southern Oregon, for example. So now I'm going to turn it over to Joel, who's going to tell us more about why it's so important that your business shows up accurately in Google and how local software can help you to optimize your listings.
Hello, everyone. Cecilia, thank you for the context and intro. Kate, thank you for the wonderful intro. I'm Joel Siedenburg. I'm the CEO of Locl. First thing I'd like to say is this has been in the works for a couple months now, and it has been wonderful working with Travel Oregon. We're really excited about this partnership. We're really excited to join together and offer a lot of value to businesses in our state. And the timing is really good now too. And so I just wanted to say thanks, that we're excited to be here, and I look forward to meeting more of you through the process. So like Cecilia said, we are all about helping businesses succeed on Google. I've been in marketing for 15 years, and can you go to the next slide, Cecilia? I've been in marketing for 15 years, and it is a complex, complicated space, especially the digital aspect of that. And it's complicated and difficult for marketers, let alone small business owner operators. There's all these tools out there right now, all these digital solutions that are supposed to solve all of their problems and make things easier. But honestly, a lot of the time it just creates more complexity and confusion. And so business owners really need to focus where it counts for them. They're wearing a lot of hats and don't have time to do everything. So next slide, please. So part of this is just going back to the basics. We all kind of know this, but Google owns the search market. 93% of all internet searches happen on Google, and it's been this way for a long time. But what a lot of people don't realize is that almost half of all those Google searches are local in nature and intent. And what being local in nature and intent means simply is that, when you want pizza or ice cream, you want it near you. You don't want it in Pittsburgh. So Go ahead and go to the next slide, please. So this is really, Google knows this too. And so it's not just the Google Maps app that we're talking about today. We're talking about, again, all internet searches. These two images on the left, you can see these are regular browser-based searches from a mobile phone or a computer. This is modern day SEO. And days gone by where you're trying to be top, the #1 search result, it's not even like that anymore. And that's because Google knows that proximity really matters when someone is searching for what they want. And it's another important point to make that when people are using Google Maps, they're in consumer mode. And that presents an opportunity, the mindset that they're in. And that's a differentiator from when they're using a lot of the digital platforms out there, checking in on family and friends and looking at dog photos, etc. So what we're trying to do is make this very easy for folks to be successful in the place where most of their customers and their potential customers are already at. Next slide, please. And this is the sales cycle that happens. And we're so used to using this as consumers, we don't even think about it. We're using this subconsciously. When we want, ice cream on our way home from the coast, we pull up our phone and we look at these listings here. And again, these listings are more powerful than most businesses' websites because it gives just the information that the consumer needs to make a decision on whether to go to them or to go to a competitor. And so this is really where the rubber meets the road when trying to convert new customers. And there's a lot of different things that a business can do to have a strong presence here. Photography and showing up and these different things that we'll go into in more detail in a little bit. But the search is the first part of it, and based on what they're seeing, they make a decision. And it's normally a quick decision. So making sure that the right information is there and that they're reflecting their experience that they provide their customers in this space is really important. And then, as they request directions to go there, they book a table, etc., and then they end up showing up. Next slide, please. So simply put, businesses with a compelling Maps listing and Maps presence, Google Maps presence, win customers. And so what we're looking at here is a local business, and they've been doing a really great job of doing this. And you can see that they have really strong photography. They're doing social media style posts. My colleague Alexa will get into the detail on that here in a few minutes. But there's calls to action with these posts. There's a lot that you can do. Next slide, please. And then alternatively, this is still a relatively new thing for many businesses, where Google's really done a great job of getting us as consumers to use this. They haven't made it easy, and they haven't made it clear for how businesses can win in this space. And so there's a lot of businesses who still don't have a strong Google listing, or maybe none at all. They haven't claimed or verified their location yet, and they're missing out on this opportunity. And the other thing to point out is Google is this hungry search algorithm, and it is constantly wanting information to turn around and provide relevant, high quality results for the people who are using it. And so this isn't a set it up and forget it kind of thing. It needs to be a part of their marketing mix or their business development practice to keep these things up to date. We're looking at an example here of a business that has the location on Maps, but they haven't been putting new photos and content into their listing. And so what happens is if you're not feeding Google directly, they'll get it from somewhere else, whether that's a random person, maybe a customer, or they're pulling it off the web somewhere else. And so you lose control of your online presence here instead of curating it on your own. And so this place has really wonderful pizza. I've eaten here before. but you would never know that based on, you know, this listing here. Next slide, please. So as Cecilia mentioned a minute or two ago, we've been talking about maps here and showing up on maps and a map's presence. Maps, Google Maps is controlled by Google My Business. And some of you may know this already, but you know, if there are some on here who don't, it's worth mentioning. This is where you go in and control your profile and you do these things. And when you do them, it ends up showing up on Maps, which is where consumers see them. Next slide. So here's the problem. Google, like a lot of their platforms, are not easy to use. There are lots of different options that you can do. The rabbit hole is pretty deep. And so as you can see from this image on the right, you know, there are lots of different things that you can do, and it's hard to know where you should spend your time. And people, you know, who aren't familiar, they don't want to do the wrong thing. They don't want to make a mistake. They worry maybe I'll mess something up. And so they stay away from it. And so this is one area that we really help a lot. And then this image on the left is if you are a business with more than one location, you have to make changes one location at a time. And so this is especially problematic for large, many location businesses. There simply isn't time to do it all. Next slide. So the other component of this where there's a huge opportunity is just the insights and the metrics that can come from this. Many of the metrics that come from Google My Business strongly correlate to the actual behavior that customers are taking. Phone calls, direction requests, website visits, the zip codes where they're coming from, whether they searched for you by name or just what your business offers. These are all things that Google My Business provides, which is really great. For physical locations, businesses with a physical location, this is better than most any other place. But the problem is Google My Business directly only gives the business 90 days of history. So you can't see seasonality, you can't see year-over-year comparisons, and that's really what you need to be able to make data-driven, smart decisions for your business. Next slide. So this is the problem that we have sought out to solve. We have built a software platform that's easy to use. It makes business owners successful and marketers successful in this space. It saves them a lot of time. It tells them what to do. Next slide, please. And it just takes a lot of the guesswork out of this for folks, so they have a successful experience. And this is both on the optimization side, where you're working to acquire more visibility and more customers, and we have much stronger analytics for folks so they can see what's actually happening. So we're going to get into a little more detail on this. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Alexa. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Joel. So after this is over, I would love for all of you to open your phones and see how you actually look on Google and Google Maps. So after we talk through some things and we see some comparisons, you'll be able to see exactly how you're showing up when people near you are searching and looking for things to eat or do near them in that moment. Next slide, Cecilia. Thanks. So a couple things that you as a business can do to help optimize your listing on an ongoing basis are Google Posts. And Google Posts are still relatively new and a lot of people are unfamiliar. But the best way to look at a Google Post is like free advertising on your listing. So Google Posts show up sort of like social media style posts that you see on Instagram or Facebook, and it allows you to showcase whatever's happening at your place of work. So here you can see an example from the Lansu Chinese Garden here in Portland, where they're talking about specific events that have happened in the past, or posts are really great for showcasing what's new or any promotions that you're doing. Next slide. So as you can see, there are 3 different types of posts that you'll actually be able to create inside of Locl, which I'll show you later. So there are offer posts, like I mentioned, which are promotional opportunities. So if you have, let's say, a 40% off discount for new customers or a first-time special, there's actually specific call to action buttons that you can create to then guide people to the specific link to offer them that promotion. There's event promotion or event opportunity posts. And these are great. And right now, especially, you can take advantage to showcase some virtual events that you're doing. So there are, if you're doing a webinar like the one today and you want to highlight that on Google and drive people to the website to sign up, you can do that. Or hopefully, once the weather warms up and there's more stuff happening again outside, you can create an event to talk about that. And then the final one is a update or a what's new post. And this is really great for highlighting new things, like let's say you have a new happy hour or you're starting brunch at your restaurant. An update post is super informational. Again, there's call to action buttons where you can either have people click to book a reservation or to find out more information. Next. So photos, as Joel mentioned, are another really great way to capture the attention of people and also to help optimize your listing. So think about you on Instagram or other social media. What you're really looking for are really compelling, beautiful images that drive people to come to your location. So you want to do the same for Google. And it's shown that listings with 100+ owner submitted photos actually get 20 times more clicks than the average listing. And then listings with one image or a few images actually get 65% less clicks than average. So having photos and optimizing your listing for these photos every so often is super important. Next. Awesome. So I'm actually going to go ahead and share my screen and take you inside of the Locl dashboard and show you exactly how you'll be able to take advantage of these tools to help optimize the listings yourself. So as you can see, when you sign in, hopefully you're all seeing the right screen, you will be able to see a whole panel with many options. And the first place that I would say that you should start making some updates to make sure that your listing is up to date and as accurate as it can be is over here inside the Manage Location section. So this is where you're going to find a lot of really great basic information about your business. So as you can see, we have Travel Oregon's PDX Welcome Center pulled up. And some of the first things you can be doing are things like updating your business categories. So categories help inform both people and search engines about the type of business you're managing. And we rarely run into a business who has categories set correctly. Google allows you to set a primary category, which is this one here, the Tourist Information Center, as well as secondary categories. And secondary categories are really awesome because they can help cast a wider net in search using a variety of different keywords. So this primary category is the one that actually shows up on a Google listing. And then the additional ones, you would just type in here to find extra and click update, and then they'll appear on your listing. Additionally, you can set your business hours inside of Locl. So this is one of the simplest yet most important ways to stay connected to your customers, because this is how people are going to know if you're open or closed. And if your hours are inaccurate, you could risk losing a sale. So again, setting your hours here and then updating them, as well as setting any special hours for holidays that may be coming up. So let's say you'll be open for Memorial Day, you can just do that right from here, and it can push everything out to the Google world. Another way to make sure that you're optimizing your listing is by setting your business attributes. So attributes are essentially ways to let people know exactly who you are and the types of things that you offer. So right now, we find that these health and safety attributes especially are important, given some health and safety protocols that are happening in the world. So you can select things like there's mask required, or a temperature check is required, or the staff wears masks. So that way people, when they come to visit you, they know exactly what you're getting. There's also choices like online appointments. If you are a women-led business, you can click identified as women-led, any accessibility options, et cetera, et cetera. So starting here on this manage locations section is super important. And one thing I wanted to just point out real quick before we jump to some other pages is that you can actually do these updates for either one location or multiple locations, as Joel mentioned before. So you'll find in each section a drop-down menu where you can actually select all or a couple or just one location to make these updates to then push through to. So once these basic things are updated, you should start thinking about performance-specific optimization, such as the photos and the posts that we talked about before. So as you can see here, once you click on the photos and videos section, you can see a variety of images that have already been uploaded to a maps listing. And I'll show you an example in a second of what this actually looks like on Google once information is pushed out. But this is where you'll find that. And then there's also a section for you to upload these photos or videos. So when you're inside of the dashboard, you can actually, again, click what location you want to highlight and upload the images to, upload it right from your computer, and then press publish, and it will be pushed out to your Google Maps listing. And then we also have the post tool that we talked about. So posts, again, are like free advertising on a listing. And with these and also with some of these other updates like photos, again, we highly recommend doing this on an ongoing basis because that will continue to help optimize and cast a wider net in search. So with posts over here, like we talked about, the what's new post, the offer post, the event post, you can select from each of these. And if you want to create a new post, you just click what type of post you want to create, upload an image, type in the information here, click a call to action button that you want, and then attach a website link to it. And then this is how the post is going to show up. And as I mentioned, here's an example of exactly what the maps listing looks like. So when you're on Google and you're making these updates, you can see that the posts have been pushed out, and then you can see that photos have been uploaded. And all of these things are helping this become really shiny and really optimized. We also have a reputation section. So reputation meaning this is where you can keep track and manage all of your reviews that you receive on Google. And you can even reply to each in chronological order right from your local dashboard. So again, you can select which locations you want to see the reviews for. And right now we're viewing 6 different locations that are managed by Travel Oregon. And here you can just see a variety of the reviews and an area to respond to them. You can also see the star ratings that each of them get and categorize it by either replied to or haven't replied to. And again, you can just click on, if you only want to look at one location at a time, that's an option too. So once you've made all of these optimizations and you've taken time once or twice a month, if not more, which is encouraged, this is where you can see the effects of all of your efforts. So this is our dashboard, our analytics dashboard. And basically this is what you'll see. You can measure all of the consumer actions that have been taken on the listing. So you'll see a variety of numbers here for all locations. And the nice thing about this is that you can actually toggle it by date. So as you can see, there's a calendar here. Right now we have the metrics for February 1st to March 7th pulled up. And this is, we think, is such sort of the crux of everything, because this shows exactly what is happening and what actions have been taken based again on the work that you've been doing on an ongoing basis. So, you know, in order to keep seeing those numbers go up, that's why we encourage you to get inside of your tool and to really just make these optimization efforts and do the work several times a month if possible. But when all is said and done, like I've shown you, this is made to become a time saver. You know, like Joel mentioned, you're wearing a lot of hats and there's a lot on your plates. And so if we can save you some time and also show you exactly what you should be doing when you should be doing it, then we are, you know, here to help. So finally, in regards to that, you'll find the overview page, which basically is going to show you exactly what to do, when to do it. So if you're not a Google My Business expert, it's no problem. We lay it out for you here and tell you exactly what you should be doing at what time. So we hope that you'll dig in after this webinar is over and just, you know, really get into it and try it out for yourself. And hopefully it will really just help you save time and maximize your exposure on Google. So Cecilia, I'd love to turn it back to you.
Hello, I think my screen's just a little slow to load. Here we go. Thank you, Alexa. Wonderful demo. So I think, Alexa, can you see my screen?
I sure can.
Okay, excellent. Sorry, everyone. So here's where you need to go to get started. The URL is local.io.traveloregon. Just go there, fill out the fields, push the buttons. We have some a deeper how-to included in the appendix of the slide deck that we will be sharing out. And as I mentioned before, this is a real great unique plan that has been customized. It takes everything from Locl's basics and then pulls in some really great premium features as well. Repeat, it is free to you. So if you are a tourism business, please go here and sign up. And I think that puts us ahead of time and ready for more questions.
Excellent. Thank you all so much. I would encourage everyone to stick around. We didn't get a ton of questions through Q&A, but I suspect there are more sitting out there. One question that came up is, let's see here. Okay. So one of the questions is whether or not, as a DMO partner, whether or not they would be the person to go in and claim businesses on behalf of their fellow businesses, or would it need to be on the individual business? And Cecilia, I'm wondering if maybe you could field that one.
This is for businesses to manage, since they are the owner of the business, and many of them may already be the owner of that listing in Google. So we're looking at, of course, DMOs are going to play a critical role in getting the word out on this program. I'd see us as more of ambassadors. And if you do have businesses that do have questions, you can direct them to us. This email that's currently up, integrated@traveloregon.com. Feel free to send any questions that way. And also, I think, Kate, did you drop the link to the toolkit in the chat? There's more information there as well. So I'd encourage you to share that with your businesses.
Absolutely. And I would also mention that we are going to send a follow-up email next week that'll have a link to this recording. It'll have a link to our presentation. It'll have a link to the toolkit, which has a lot of great supporting resources as well. So just know we're going to send you a bundle of links basically next week. So I'm going to hop back into a few questions. One question that came up, Alexa, maybe you can field this one, or Joel. How do you track phone calls? Are they the calls generated on desktop only? If you could provide a little visibility, that'd be great.
Sure, I can take this one. So in every Google My Business listing, there is a call button. There's a couple of different ways to contact the business there. So you can do that whether you're on the desktop, a desktop browser, a mobile browser, or within the Maps app. But anytime that call button is clicked from within Google My Business there, that's being tracked.
Great.
Good question.
This is another good question. There's actually a few that are kind of related, so I'm just going to group them together. And Cecilia, maybe you and I can tag team it, which is basically, how does this interface with Otis? What's the relationship to Otis? Do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yes, so we are currently working with our Otis development team and Locl's development team to hook up our two systems. So that integration isn't quite live yet, but it's coming, and rest assured that any updates made in Locl's system before Otis goes live will be stored and we will get them. And we're planning for the data that we pull into Otis for listings that appear on traveloregon.com and integrated partner websites to include core fields like contact information, business name, business description, and one image. So we won't be pulling absolutely everything in, but we'll be pulling in that information that could change. And we're also working on wiring up posts being events and deals. So if you put an event in Locl, we can get that through Otis. Kate, would you like to?
I would also just chime in with one quick go back. Sorry, Cecilia. While descriptions will be managed in Locl, at this point in time, we're actually going to pause on importing the descriptions, just knowing that a lot of our partners are curating those for their websites. So coming back to core fields, like Cecilia said, the various location information and contact information and photo, definitely. But for now, we're going to hold on pulling in descriptions into Otis. It's possible, and it is available to us. So if we decide as a group that we want to do that, we can. But just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you for the correction. I'm very excited.
I know, so am I. So let's see here. This is a good question. As a DMO, should we claim and set up our own business on Google? Wondering who should field that? Maybe Alexa, or I can also field it.
Yeah, I can take it. Whatever.
Or Joel, go for it. All right.
So you could, but it's really designed to create a listing in a contact point for businesses that service the public directly. So you would qualify to have a Google My Business listing. However, it's probably more useful to have, to make sure that your listing for your visitor center is, that has a listing. Another example would be, there are businesses that service customers directly, and they also have a corporate headquarters. That corporate headquarters could have a listing, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to really do that because they don't want anyone calling there or going there. So similar in this situation.
Yeah, and I think I would just maybe add to that too, thinking about the services you're providing. If you are offering services and you want to kind of surface that, then I think there is value specifically with Google My Business. But to your point, like I think it really depends on if you're offering services to visitors, travelers, customers, that kind of thing. I have another question here, and this one I think, Alexa, would be a good one for you. So for someone familiar with Google profiles already, how is this different than just managing your profile on Google? Or what does Locl provide that isn't already accessible through Google, through the Google My Business profile?
Yeah, I can definitely take that. I don't know if I'm showing up or not. Well, there's many things that Locl provides that Google does not. So the first thing that we will always love to point out is Google in their analytics and metrics only capture up to a quarter's worth of data. And in the Google dashboard, the analytics dashboard that I showed, we can actually capture and have captured 18 months worth of data. So you can see year-over-year comparisons, and you can get really granular with how you're searching. And this is super helpful for business owners and marketers alike. And we also, you can manage multiple locations at once. So our tools actually push things out and syndicate to several locations. So let's say you have a post that you want to push out to 3 of your businesses at once. You can do that without having to open each individual Google My Business listing at a time. So it saves you money. And then we have a lot of other features too that you'll find in that pricing sheet that are part of our premium package, that such as we have a social media connector that pushes posts out to Google from your Instagram or Facebook that you can connect. And there's some other really good nuggets in there too. So I'm happy to answer anything further if you have, but those 2 big takeaways with the multi-location syndication as well as the dashboard analytics, those are probably 2 of the biggest ones that I wanted to point out.
Yeah, I think that's great that you can make edits to a single listing and kind of push it out, or in a single place and push it out. Like, that's just such a great value add. And as well as that layered data is so important, and for that amount of time. Joel, I have a question for you, which is, what is meant by annual customer value? Could you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah, so there's a couple of metrics in our dashboard that are our local created metrics. So there's a calculated revenue metric that is, without going into the math for it, it's basically showing you it's a representation of revenue that's generated via your Maps listing. And that's based off of another couple of metrics, one that Google provides, one that you provides. ACV is annual customer value, which gives us, it's basically like, if someone comes to you multiple times during the year, how much total revenue is that worth? And that gives us a way to calculate additional insights through our system.
Fantastic. Let's see here. I'm just looking through. I don't see a whole lot of new questions. Don't be shy. Please do chime in with more questions. I feel like we sort of spoke to this a little bit earlier, but it was more specific to a DMO. So maybe Joel, Alexa, Cecilia, maybe we can kind of tag team, but how does a business without a storefront, a home-based business, use Locl differently than, say, a business that is a storefront?
There is no one silver bullet answer to that. It kind of depends on the type of business. There is a way, some businesses naturally have service areas too, where you can, instead of having, dropping a pin, because you may not want people to come to your home in this example, but you may service, a geography. That's one way, but it kind of depends on the type of offering that you do. I mean, you can, be, it really kind of depends on the business, but there's different ways. It's kind of different strategies depending on the type of business that you are.
Ooh, I got another question. Does Locl provide any best practices or support as it relates to how to best respond to customer comments? Should we delete offensive comments? That's a great question.
I can take that one. So what I like to tell our customers is that responding to all reviews, whether good or bad, is great. So reviews are a really important search ranking factor on Google. The more reviews you have, the more Google looks at you as a quote unquote real business. So a listing with 25 plus reviews is going to show up more times than one with less. And we would even we've seen businesses with, upwards of 80 to hundreds of reviews that continue to rise to the top because they have more, but that also is because of the engagement on the reviews. So for a negative review, I wouldn't delete it. However, I would respond to it and try to take any of the comments offline, or the conversations offline. So, if someone has something negative to say, something like Thank you so much for reaching out. We'd love to discuss further with you. Please feel free to email us at info@blah, blah, blah. We find that, again, that engagement and also just showing that you care is really helpful. But just having that momentum on a listing and on a review is really important. So I would, to summarize, avoid deleting and just respond positively.
And unmute. Thank you. You'd think after how many Zoom meetings that I would remember to unmute myself. That was really helpful. Thank you. I had Cecilia pull up this pricing, or not pricing, but kind of like feature one-sheeter here for folks to kind of see what's included with their Travel Oregon subscription. And that's because a question came through that was asking kind of what's included for a small business and what opportunities are there for small businesses to add more services. So I feel like the screen, and Cecilia, I don't know if you want to chime in more on this one too, but I feel like this gives us a good at a glance of what's included when you go to locl.io/Travel Oregon. As you see, there's a lot of great features that are included, and then there are a handful that if businesses really are enjoying using this platform and would like to take advantage of a few more enhanced features that they can pay for in addition to. So things like scheduling posts or bulk uploading photos or using like the social connectors. And so I'm all Cecilia and then blah, blah, blah. Here I am just talking. Sorry, interrupt me at any point.
I would just add that the Travel Oregon Plus level includes some really great premium features. And as you get in there and as you get in there, you might realize you are a business that uses multiple social platforms, and that social connector would be great to have. You can upgrade if you find out that TO Plus just isn't enough for you. You do have an option to pay to move to the premium. So we think we did a good job setting a base, but give us your feedback is what I would also say. All of the features are awesome.
Yeah, feedback's always welcome. And I'll say from our end, the heart of this special plan was to give businesses what they need to be successful without having to upgrade. There's some time savings, cool features that are in premium, but by not using premium, you can have performance that's just as good. So, and that's really one of the big goals of this partnership and in making this available to more businesses, in our state.
And I'd also like to double underline and bold the fact that with Joel and Alexa at Locl, we are getting customer service that if you are choosing to manage your profiles in Google My Business, good luck calling Google for help. So that I think is a very big thing that is of great value. So we are here between the Travel Oregon team and the Locl team. We're here to help.
Totally. There was a question that came through chat also around pricing post 2022. And honestly, at this point, we're not sure. We'll definitely, if anything changes beyond 2022, our role in this partnership or not, we'll be sure to let everyone know at that point in time should anything change. But I feel like it's a little early to tell at this point. So, but we'll definitely, like I said, we'll give people notice should anything change. I did want to ask a question about, let's see here, I lost my place here. So what do you do, this is a great question, what do you do about reviews from people who have never visited or even contacted you? Alexa, do you want to take that last question?
Yeah, so this one's a little trickier. So Google does have an option where you can flag a review from your Google Maps listing, and that's what I would recommend doing. From there, it gets a little bit more complicated because they have you cite the reasoning, and unfortunately, there's not always a cut and dry, like this person never visited and they left a bad review, like please remove it. Google's kind of specific about which reviews they will remove, but you can make a case for it. And if you go on your listing and there is like a negative review that for a fact someone didn't join you or visit you, then you can actually, like I said, you can flag it and then you can fill out a form and give your explanation. So we can't do that right now within Locl, but you can do it within Google.
Thank you. I'm not seeing any new questions come through Q&A or chat, so maybe we'll just give a couple more minutes, or a minute anyway, in case anybody thinks of anything. And while I fill space with my voice, I would also encourage you to, if you think of something after this session, you're more than welcome to reach out to us at integrated@traveloregon.com. Again, integrated@traveloregon.com, and we'll be sure to include that in the email follow-up that we send to you all with all of the assets. Oh, thank you. Somebody just dropped that in chat. Oh, we've got one more. Does Travel Oregon have access to all of the business data once connected to Locl, and what do we use it for? So right now, the data that would be available to us is mainly around, so what would be going into Otis specifically would be location-based information and contact information. Basically kind of the listing meta that we would display on traveloregon.com and photos. We will have visibility into metrics at an aggregated level. So that's on Travel Oregon side. When we log in, we'll be able to see that and be able to kind of track insights at the statewide level. I hope that answers the question. It's very similar. The view is very similar to what businesses see in analytics, but we see it at a statewide level. And again, we'd encourage any travel and tourism businesses who want to take advantage of this to go ahead and sign up at locl.io/traveloregon. All right, well, I think that kind of wraps us up. I want to say thank you again to our panelists, Cecilia, Joel, Alexa. Thank you so much for all of the information. Thank you to everyone who attended today and all of the great questions. Please know there'll be another opportunity coming up in June. We're firming up the date. We'll be doing this quarterly. So again, please do fill out the survey. We'll drop that in chat. And again, we'll follow up with a link to that survey as well so that we can really get it refined for June. And we really appreciate you being here. Gracia, who you probably didn't see, has been lending her Zoom wizardry today as well. So thank you. And again, we'll look forward to seeing you guys in June. Thanks again.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks all.